Welcome to the Linked by Golf podcast. I'm your host Ross McGuire, and each week I'll be bringing you some interviews with people that I've come across in life and allowing them to tell their story through a golfing lens. This week's episode features a man that I've known since I was a junior golfer in Scotland. His name is Gary Dingwall. He's the head teaching professional at Royal Dornoch Golf Club, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy his story. So without any further delay, let's go over to Gary. Gary, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
How you doing, mate? You well?
Absolutely. Loving it. Great Excellent. To hear from you. It's been a long time.
Too long. It's been I don't know, how many years? Probably 20?
Since I saw you at Open qualifying one time, it must be a good 15, at least 15. So, a long time indeed.
That's right. Open qualifying at Musselburgh, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
Right. Perfect.
So before we get straight into that, Gary, and clearly you're a very good golfer and got a lot of experiences in your life with golf. Where I wanted to start is basically where you're from. So where are you from? Where were you brought up? And how did you get into golf? What was it that piqued your interest?
Absolutely. Well, I was brought up in a little town called Newmains, and it's not far from a place called Wishaw. And Wishaw is where I played the majority of my golf when I was younger. But before that, if we travel back to when I first started playing golf, I can't really remember the honest truth. I can always admit golf clubs been around. My dad was an avid golfer. I had 3 elder sisters, so they didn't play golf. Right. So I think my dad took it out on me to go and go to the golf club and be the one that he can teach the game to and get into the great game of golf that we know. So really, ever since I can remember, but I used to be a member at Greenburn, and I don't know if you can remember that place. It was up in Falthouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a couple of guys from there as well.
Yeah, because they would allow you kids to join back then. And Wishaw, you had to be 12 years old to join Wishaw.
Okay.
So I'd been playing golf up there, yeah, as I say, ever since I can remember, really. But when I joined high school, it was this collection of events that happened, and got to join Wishaw. When I was 12, first year at high school. I can remember getting down there and being very intimidated with the whole thing. It was a lot more, I wouldn't say stuffy, but a lot more formal than Greenburn. Greenburn was very much a locals club and very, very, people, everybody knew one another, whereas Wishaw, being a bigger town, was kind of just a little bit more formal, a little bit more, you had to wear shirt and tie. We had a meeting for the juniors, first ever meeting. I can remember doing that. And really, that's where I met my future golfing buddies. I can remember that day sitting in that meeting and seeing all these kids the same age as me, probably as nervous as me, thinking about golf, wanting to play golf. And luckily for that little group of players, and I wouldn't just say me, is we all had a passion for the game and we all thrived with one another. There was probably, 25 of us that I can remember that throughout the summer holidays would get dropped off. We would play golf all day, every day, to the point where, it was dark by the time you were getting home. You get your couple of quid or £1, I think it was back then, for your Coca-Cola and your bowl of chips. And happy days, if you bet and won, you get 2 quid, so you could get another Coca-Cola and bowl of chips. But if you lost, you'd have to kind of look in one of your mates to take pity on you and maybe bail you out and give you some chips and buy you a diluting juice, because diluting juice was only 10 pence. So that was it. But that was really how golf came about for me. And I can remember being down at Wishaw 12, 13 and thinking, yeah, this is a sport for me. Football had kind of waned off a little bit. I don't know whether I thought it was maybe just too hard or the players around about, we were just too good. I just couldn't keep up at football, but all my passion and energy went to golf. And looking back, really, it was that bunch of kids that all just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, to help each other compete, play, have fun. It was almost like a little gang hut down there. Everybody got on with one another. There was never any animosity. Everybody was trying to help each other. and that just went straight through all the way until we all get jobs and we all disappeared. But when we meet up now, it's like long lost brothers. You just meet up and you reminisce a bit like we're doing just now. It's a phenomenal
it's really
time.
Interesting, Gary. I was wanting to ask you about those early memories, and what you've described to me is a lot of what I went through myself. You were the people that you meet, the friends that you make for life. And whilst we played at different golf clubs, the golf clubs we were members of were very similar in terms of types of characters. So, there's some good laughs in our golf club as well, and it's just brought memories back there that are really fantastic. So you're at Wishaw, you talked about age 12 or 13. So now I know that you went on to do a lot of different things in golf, but when did you notice that you were slightly different in regards to how you could perform? When was it starting to become obvious to you that you had a different skill set perhaps to some of your friends?
I think that really happened kind of 13, 14 years old. Been playing for a couple of years. But 13, 14 was really kind of the turning point for me. I know you know this guy very, very well, Big Fraser McLaughlin.
Yeah.
So obviously went on to be my best man. He's now out in the Middle East plying his trade out there. But our two dads, I don't know if it was a conscious thing or whether it just happened. We just got together and the dads would take turns taking us to the driving range every night after school. Wow. So you go home, you get your dinner, you'd head off to the driving range. And we're both getting coached independently with different people. Maybe we'd see the same person or whatever sometimes. But that period, 13, 14, was when a little gap started to appear, I suppose. Kids who were maybe better than us, hit it further, all these different aspects. But because we were hitting balls every night during the winter, that gap got smaller and smaller till we eventually overtook them. So even our bad shots were starting to go straight. They were, our bad shots were getting less. And then you fast forward another year, you're starting to get bigger, you're starting to get stronger. And the 16, 17-year-olds you were playing with at the club level, they were starting to notice a difference. They were starting to pick you in their team. You weren't the last one picked anymore. So that was a definite turning point, seeing that aspect of how hard work, essentially, and you didn't see it as hard work at the time. It was just good fun. And one of the essential memories was his Big Fraser's, and Big Willie's dad. One of the trigger points was when you were coming back to the driving range, you always stopped at Chippy. You always got a chip roll, a bag of chips, whatever it may be, and you shared it between the two, and it was that bond you were building. And it's all these wee things that go into, feeding your passion for the game, because it didn't matter how you hit the ball at the range. You go and hit 100 balls, it might be freezing, it might be snowing. You knew you were going to get a bag of chips. And that was kind of it. that was your masters at that point.
Yeah, our place, you go in the clubhouse as well, right? Or you get in the way down the road. So, and you talked to Gary about the driving range. Just out of interest, what driving range would you be going to? Was it Hamilton or somewhere else?
So we didn't go to Hamilton. It was too expensive. It was too expensive. Back then it was. So we used to jump in the car and we went to Polkemmet, halfway between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Of course.
There you go.
And lo and behold, when we got there, Stevie G was hitting balls, Stevie Gallagher. So that's what he's not much older than us now. He was maybe 3-4 years older. And he was there with his granddad watching him hitting balls, and we used to talk away to him. And so that kind of fed, because he was in the Scotland teams. He was like the mega star at the time in amateur golf.
Absolutely.
You'd be asking him questions, and he'd watch you hit balls, and he'd be like, good shot, wee man. So that's all you needed back then, was somebody with that Scotland blazer on or Scotland waterproof jacket to say, oh, good shot. And it just fed the fire. Then latterly, for whatever reason, I don't know if you can remember this as well, it just seemed to be everybody in Lanarkshire congregated at Coatbridge driving range. So we're talking Graham Rankin, Bartley Howard, although he wasn't Lanarkshire, he was Renfrewshire, but Stevie O'Hara, myself, Papa, Stephen Rennie, we all kind of seemed to congregate there for some reason. I think it more for the crack as well. You were hitting balls, but it wasn't intense all the time. You'd maybe hit 10, 15 balls, go see what somebody else was up to, watch what they're doing, maybe take something from it, go back and hit balls. And again, with it being a municipal driving range, balls were cheaper. So when you're paying for balls and you're hitting thousands a week, it adds up, you know. So Hamilton, I would have to say, was the luxury. I love going to Hamilton simply because it had the almost fairway-like driving range. You had the trees up the right, you'd out of bounds down the left, and you used to sit up there and you could visualise it with those other ranges. As good as they were, it was more of an open field with the flags dotted around here and there. But
I'm jumping a little bit ahead in time, Gary, but I think we talked the other day just about a story with Fraser you were talking about. I remember being in the range down in Hamilton and just hearing this thing that was going off like a cannon. And then bounding down the driving range comes this big guy with a smiling face, and it's Fraser. And he's just been hitting driver over the back fence for fun while I'm trying to get it over a 200 mark. It was quite entertaining.
that was definitely Fraser. And you know Fraser as well. I was 15, he was 14. He was tiny. He was always shorter than me off the tee. He would try everything to beat you. He was everything. But when he turned 15, I don't know, Big Willie must have put him in a grow bag or something, because he just shot up, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember him with a
5
House and Hippo driver.
House
a couple of drivers into par 4s and par 5s, and then before you know it, he's launching out of the back of the driving range like it's just a laugh. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that, we're talking there about your progression. So in terms of club golf context within Wishaw Golf Club, you're clearly standing out. And then you touched on some of the guys from the county. When did you notice a difference in regards to how you were performing at county level? What kind of age was that happening for you?
Probably later on, maybe 17, I started to compete at that level. And again, similar story. You would watch what the better players were doing. And I can vividly remember talking to a couple of guys, and it was all short game, wedges into greens, not so much, because the courses we were playing back then, they weren't overly long. You're talking a big golf course would be 6,300, 400 yards. So you were getting a lot of wedges into greens, and that's when I went away. And the wee strip we had at Wishaw, it was only a half, 150 yards long, and you'd spend all day there just hitting wedges and wedges. That's when, again, you kind of noticed the next step up is when you started hitting a lot of greens and giving yourself a lot of chances, and the odd putt would go in. And
we'll get to the putting, Gary, especially for you, in a very good way. And in terms of that county level, Gary, that then took you into a different level beyond the county. So what kind of tournaments were you playing in, and what sort of results helped you stand out to be in that county team and moving up the levels?
The county team was the stepping stone to the national training squads, and at 16 we were selected to go down to Largs and participate in a couple of weekends. I suppose more for the Scottish coaches and the staff there to have a look at what you were up to and what you were doing. Not so much coaching, it was more to see your attitude towards the game and how you would interact with other people, players. I suppose they're trying to build a team, really. And I was fortunate enough to share with Mark Donaldson, great wee guy from Fife. Big Lofty was there, Mark Loftus, all these guys, and we all got on like house on fire. And so that was a kind of a springboard to national golf and the next step up. And then you'd look at your calendar really to see what tournaments were coming up and you needed to play in to get even more recognition. And by that point, it was definitely all the county events, the men's county events, the youths events, and then the Scottish boys, youths. So you were basically all over the country playing in national events. Anything that had the order merit points, you were entering. And
for some of the listeners who are maybe not familiar, when you step up to those different tournaments and you go to different courses, just talk about some of the courses you managed to play in those national and county level events, and what they're like.
Yeah, so county level, we were lucky enough, and certainly being in Lanarkshire, you got to play the best in Lancashire. Lanark Golf Club was always a standout for me. The greens were always quick. They held open qualifying there, so it gave you an insight into where the next level was and what your skill set needed to be able to compete. And then at national level, you're playing Carnoustie, you're playing, the Links Trophy, it's St Andrews. It's almost the boyhood dream stuff coming true. And then you go into the national stage and you're playing British Arms and stuff, and you're at Royal St George's, you're at Muirfield, you're all over the country playing in tournaments and courses that you've watched on the TV. And it was
how did you feel in that environment, Gary? Because you're not playing with the guys from the club, you're not playing with the guys necessarily from the county, but you're playing for people potentially from all over the world. How did you feel in that environment yourself?
At first, you kind of feel a little bit overawed sometimes when you were looking at maybe people you knew or had seen on the TV back then, because the TV amateur golf was back in Scottish sports scene and stuff. So you did feel a little bit overawed, but again, that's where your crux comes in. Your mates would always be there. They were there just as a backup, and you kind of bounce stuff off each other. You'd have a little bit of a laugh, and where we grew up, if you couldn't have a laugh, then the world was going to end. So there was all.
I think that was the main purpose of golf half the time for me.
So you always had the backup, and that kind of got you through it. It did definitely, and I think I was always one that always looked at these events as a little bit of a learning curve. What could I take from that? If I missed the cut, what did I do wrong? Why did I do that? Why did I hit that shot?
I picked up that you'd actually talk to other guys about how you felt when you're playing those rounds. Did that come up?
Absolutely. In wherever you were staying at night, in the caravans or even tents, sometimes you would chat about it. You would have that was weird. That first tee's a bit of a nightmare. One of the worst first tees for me was West Kilbride. I just couldn't see that golf shot off that first tee. But yeah, there's bunker up the left, out of bounds up the right. The wind's howling off the sea.
I don't know what you're thinking is bad there, Gary.
So you're kind of
left and right.
You're talking about how to approach it. Should you hit iron off the tee? What you doing? You're going to hit practice balls. Who's picking them up? So you're definitely sitting talking to all the players and try to gain that little bit that's going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to hear that you were speaking to the guys about that. Certainly, from my own experience, whilst we had a really good group of people, I don't think we necessarily picked up on those opportunities to talk to each other about how we felt when we were playing golf, because it was, just a subject that maybe wouldn't come up, but it was great that you were getting that insight. Yeah. So then, you talked about playing in these high-profile events within the county and then at national level, and then you're talking within British level and effectively international when you look at the Amateur Championship. And that led to something else. So the next stage for you, Gary, was to go to college in the States. So just talk to us about how that came around and what really piqued your interest to go to America.
Well, it was always something on my own, but never really knew how to go about it. And thankfully, to me, the guy we've already talked about, Big Fraser McLaughlin, he went over. He was the first guy that I knew had went out from our area.
Yeah, absolutely.
He went to Midland College, which is in Texas Panhandle. And I can remember exactly where it was. It was in the clubhouse at Wishaw, and the phone went. This is before mobile phones, of course. And the phone went, and bar lady says, that's the phone for you. And it's like, okay, and I'm up, and it's Fraser. He's on the phone, and he's like, I've just had a word with coach. We could be doing with you out here. You want to come out? And I was like, what, are you being serious? Because I just lost my left leg, the big man's off. I've known him since I was 12, 13.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. So didn't take much convincing. Back spoke to mum and dad. We kind of realised that was probably the natural next step, and out I went. And luckily for me, with an amazing team, somebody else that you'll know was Stephen Young, who was out there.
Was he still there when you guys went? He had come to mind, but I wasn't sure if he was still there.
Yeah, number one, he was Walker Cup that year. He I was actually asked this question the other day. For those who don't know who Stephen Young is, do a wee bit of research. Who's the best player I've played with that probably didn't quite live up to their potential? And I would probably say Stephen. And I think the reason I say that is because the world at his feet, and he played Walker Cup and everything, and Stephen was just an extraordinary player, but he got very comfortable playing golf in Midland, and he's now married and lives out there with kids. And I've since seen an interview, and I don't think I've ever seen him happier, actually, when he's sitting there with his wife and kids. And it was an amazing place to play golf, because there again, you've got the challenge. You see Stephen Young, Walker Cup player, and you're thinking, I could maybe do that. You again, learning from him all the time, asking him questions. What are you doing? How did you play that shot?
It's a great environment for anyone, isn't it? To
Absolutely.
be able to have those guys around you that are.
I was lucky enough. Story. My dorm room. I could lift up the window of the dorm room and crawl out onto the driving range. That's how good it was. I could literally not need to just roll out of bed onto the range, and you could not get any better. If your mind was set to it.
That's brilliant.
So it was an amazing experience, and things have moved on in this day and age, and there's lots of help out there to get there now, and there's lots of different things you can do. So
how long in total were you there, Gary? I
was there a year, and then I come back. So phenomenal experience, but as I say, got better. But my education side of it, I wasn't getting on board with it. The classes were beginning to wane a little bit, so I took the difficult decision to say that enough was enough and come back home. But
come back for the weather.
Come back, yeah, exactly. But luckily, it worked out. So
absolutely, yeah, we're not even close to that yet, but absolutely. So then you make the decision, I'm guessing, to turn professional right away, or am I getting the timeline wrong? Was there a gap in between?
There was a couple of years I played amateur, full-time amateur. So I would get a wee job in the winter. One of the jobs was working at a whiskey bottling plant in Bells Hill, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. It was probably one of the best winter jobs I had, simply because the shift pattern was early shift, which was 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. Perfect. Which was great, which meant you could hit balls all afternoon at the range.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, you'd save your money up and you go play amateur golf, the amateur circuit in Scotland. And the second one is I worked for a well-known pub chain, doing pretty much something similar. And that was twofold. You could save your money up because you weren't going out.
So were you then still playing the top levels of the amateur events at that time? That's
right, yeah. So it was all about Scotland, playing in those events, and going as far as the money would take me, really, to do that. And it was a great experience, and I think one that those couple of seasons where you have the best laughs, because everybody's in the same boat, trying to do the same stuff, and you're all learning and travelling and playing together, and you're that wee band of brothers bouncing about Scotland trying to play golf.
Yeah, you were still playing for the county team at that time, if I remember.
That's right, yeah.
You brought up a story the other day about that. Do you want to fill the listeners in on what happened in terms of us? Easter Moffat.
Oh, Easter Moffat. Yeah, so Easter Moffat. I don't think I had transport to the golf club that day, and I think I put in the SOS to you, didn't I? And
I don't know if that's an SOS when we talk about that car.
And so you picked me up at the golf club in the Suzuki 0.75 litre engine. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's a fair wee hill up to Easter Moffat Golf Club, and at one point I thought I was going to have to get out and push our clubs, Ross, and the car up the hill, but luckily...
It wouldn't have been the first time in that car.
What was it the Sarge called it? The Suzuki Not So Swift?
The wee Suzuki Not So Swift, and he was absolutely spot on. In addition to a relatively dodgy carburetor, which was the issue going up the hills, it ended up with a plastic window. I'm not joking.
Well, it got us there and back, didn't it?
Well, yeah, we're still here. That's the main thing. And I'm sure you won. I know that part's true, because you basically won every game anyway, so it certainly helped us out. So then you've gone through that period, and I guess at that point you've gone through these tournaments and you decide to turn professional. So what was that process, and what took you down that path?
Yeah, so for me, I'd kind of just missed out in top 10, getting picked for the national men's team. And I suppose I was a bit at a low ebb, really. Didn't really know what was going to happen next. I'd set my sights on national team Walker Cup. It
And
never
that was
really
for
happened.
home internationals.
Yeah. So it didn't happen that year. And then an offer came in that really I couldn't really refuse at the time. It was to go out to Germany to play on the EPD tour, the third tier.
I didn't know you'd been there, Gary. I had no idea.
Yeah, I was out there. It was that then transpired into the Alps tour, so it was the kind of a kick off of the Alps tour. So there was challenge tour cards up for grabs for that. And an old member at Wisha Golf Club, a guy called Alistair Nielsen, he was out there in Germany teaching. And we went out, and there was 4 of us went out to just play golf. He was in Berlin at the time, and we played golf. And just one night with a few beers, and he was saying, what's your plans? And I was like, I don't know, really. Just told him what I'd said to you, kind of a bit downhearted with the season, I'd never get picked, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, fine. So come back, and about a month later, he phoned me up and he says, do you want to come out here? And I've got a wee bit of an idea. You can maybe play the EPD tour, and you can turn pro and teach at the club.
Brilliant.
And I said, yeah. He says, that's good because I've already booked your flight ticket. so I went out and stayed with him. By this time, he'd moved to Cologne. So I stayed with him for a month, see if I'd like it or not. And that was in the October. Did a wee bit of teaching, my first foray into teaching and things, and loved it. And so as soon as the April rolled around the next year, I was straight back out there and playing and practicing. I couldn't speak a word of English. You're probably right there as well, but could speak German. And it was a quick turnaround. When you're living there and you're in the environment, you pick up a wee bit. But mainly, I was on the range most of the time, just hitting balls and practicing, and then traveling around the country again, trying to do some stuff on the tournaments. And it was
brilliant. Great. No idea, Gary. Fantastic.
A couple of good finishes and whatnot, but so that was that. Turned pro and out in Germany. It was
no idea you started in Germany.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then the last time I spoke to you before the open qualifying thing, where I stalked you and turned up halfway through your round and turned you into an amazing putter again.
Absolutely.
Was in Portugal. So you were teaching in Portugal as well, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So Alistair, I did a full season out there, and went back the next season, come home for Christmas and New Year actually, and I went back out earlier. I went back out in February because we could hit balls at the range. It was, wasn't free, but you're out there, you're working at the club, so you're kind of doing a bit. You keep your golf swing going. It was a bit the end of June. Alistair had said, "There's a job down in Valdolobo. I'm going to apply for it. Would you come with me if I got the job?" And I said, "Well, I'm quite comfortable here, actually. It's quite good playing the APD tour and doing what I'm doing." But we had a discussion about it, and he said, "Look, I need to know because I'm going to send you down to look after the place first, because my contract here doesn't end until the December." So, cut a long story short.
There's a lot of trust in you, Gary. That's something that's standing out. He trusted you quite a bit to do that.
Yeah, to do that, yeah. And I went down and it was amazing. So we in Valdolobo playing all the golf courses around about there, Villamura, San Lorenzo, and it was great. I didn't have any tournament golf, but I can remember playing a couple of money games out there, which were quite good fun. There was obviously a lot of good players down there trying to do something similar, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. And competitive golf wasn't difficult to come by. In that environment, and the
good news is you're a good player, so you enjoyed that as well.
It helped
a bit. You need to be good, especially for
eyes in the back of your head some of the times.
Absolutely. So, when did you finish your professional training with the PGA and getting your qualifications there?
So I finished with that. Actually, my first year back here in Dornoch. So
Right. So that slips us straight back into Dornoch.
yeah. So that was the kind of a turnaround. And when I was in Portugal, it's a bit of a tricky one actually, because I'll never forget where I was when it happened. And it's one of my mates phoned me up, and I was in Pinero Saltos clubhouse, and I was just standing with a beer in my hand, and he says, are you sitting down? And I was like, no, I'm not. He says, well, go grab a seat. And that's kind of some big's coming. And unfortunately, one of my very close friends back home left us, so flew back home for that. And it's almost that kind of you have that point in your moment in your life where you go, where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
So it was at that time I made the decision, actually, what am I doing? Where am I going? And I come back home for Christmas and New Year again, finished the season out in Portugal. And as much as I loved it, I made the difficult decision not to go back. So, but the wee man must have been looking down on me, because the job at Dornoch came up, and I applied for it, come up for an interview and got it. So it was just that sliding doors moment, whatever you want to call it. It was that got me up here north. And so I finished my training up here. So I finished the training the first season here.
And you're head teaching professional at Dornoch and golf operations manager.
That's right.
Now, on another podcast, and I'll need to credit the guys at Bunker podcast, they had a man, Greg Norman, on the show a couple of years back, and he was asked about where his favourite golf course was, and he actually said Royal Dornoch at night time, 8 o'clock, grab a wee set of clubs, go up there. And then you and I talked the other day, and I'd love you, Gary, because some people will know about Dornoch, but I'm sure many don't. It's the 7th oldest golf course in the world. I hope I've got that right. But talk to us about some of those experiences at Dornoch and why Greg Norman said it's his favourite course.
Yeah, I mean, Dornoch's a uniquely located place, first of all. It's between the headland and the Firth. To the left-hand side, heading west, you've got the mountains of the Easter Ross and Wester Ross. To the other side, the east side, you've got the sea. So you're just surrounded by this natural beauty on this little bit of land that winds its way out, traditional 8 holes out, 10 holes back, along this layer of land that has been created by the sea. So golf first played, we've got records at the club of golf being played on those links since 1616.
Wow. 1616.
1616, which makes us the third oldest behind Leith and St Andrews.
My goodness.
We reckon it's a little bit earlier, but there's no written records of it, simply because this was a monastic place, the cathedral in Dornoch. So you put all these little bits together, a centuries-old cathedral, the Highland town, the air, the vistas, this golf course that's natural, and it produces something really special that a lot of people call home, even though they live in New York. It's that it grabs you, and the experience that Greg's talking about. I've had it a couple of times where Saturday night, for instance, you'll grab your wee half set, you've got to the putting green here. It's a big expanse of putting green. You've got the sea, you've got the views of the mountains, the Struy Mountain over to the west, and then all of a sudden the bagpipes will spark up because the town has its own pipe band.
As you do.
Exactly, as you do.
It's Scotland after all, why not?
And it's quite eerie. It's quite a spiritual thing where you're kind of standing there and there's nobody around, pipe band playing, the sun's setting over the hills, you can hear the sea, it's the air, the freshness of it, and you almost got to pinch yourself sometimes and you think, yeah, this is pretty good. And I'm at that stage in life now where I've did all the tournament golf and stuff, and those are the things that really begin to go, wow, yeah. This is special. And that's what Greg's talking about, because I've never played in anything that he's played in or won anything that he's won, but I can certainly experience the same things as he's experienced when you come to Dornoch.
Yeah, it's almost a spiritual experience, isn't it, when you get out? And I've never been to Dornoch, but I can resonate just in terms of some of the golf courses where you go, it doesn't need to be a great golf course, but just out at night times, the sun's going down. And I was a member at Deer Park, and strangely, although it's called Deer Park, I only ever saw one deer in the whole time I was there. I was there about 7 years. I remember I was playing the 8th hole, out towards the houses, and it was the last day of the summer, basically time savings, or clock's been forward, and I always tended to go out and play that last day just because it was like, this is winter coming, I better go and play some golf. I remember looking up and seeing this massive stag in the middle of the fairway. Wow. And it was just mesmerising. The sun's behind me, the sun's going down, and it's just getting into that really beautiful light. And seeing that deer just blew me away. And I never saw it again. That was it. That was a once in a lifetime at that golf course. But these are the things that I think people really take away from it.
Absolutely. And the way Dornoch is, it can be a wet, windy day, but there's always one moment, that'll just grab you. It was last winter. I think it was about November time. We're playing the 9th, which just goes straight along the beach, and there's a couple of people standing on the beach with their cameras out, and you're like, what are they doing there? There must be something happening. Yeah. And there's a freshwater stream that comes down through the 9th, and we got up there, and there was 3 otters just playing on the beach. 2 cubs, or I don't even know if that's a word for them, the cubs, and the big mummy otter, I can only assume, just on the beach there, frolicking about in the water, and you just think, wow, look at that, and certainly you didn't get that at Wishy, but...
the guy you're playing was moaning about missing a 3-foot putt.
Just look, no. So it's honestly those little moments out in the golf course that are just spectacular, and you need to get up here. That's the only thing I will say. You need to make it a mission.
Don't worry, Gary. I won't be shy in asking. You know that I've tried before. I tried for my 40th, but I couldn't make it happen. I'm sure we'll get it done before my 50th. One thing I did want to bring up, Gary. Now, when I first contacted you, you got back to me and you said, "I don't know if I'm that interesting." So clearly, on the basis of this chat, that is not true. But there was something that I reminded you of when we caught up the other week. I don't think you forgot this one, but I did say, Gary, have you not played with Jack Nicklaus before? And what was your answer?
I have, aye.
And then you said, and Tom Watson and Sandy Lyle, to name a few.
Craig Stadler as well.
Yeah, you're struggling for playing partners.
Struggling, yeah. There's, I suppose, you get those people coming to Dornoch as well for a reason. They've heard about it, they want to experience it, and I've been lucky enough to be asked to play with them. So it is a special thing. And it's the experience that I've had playing with them. Each and every one is honestly a true gentleman, and I think that's what the game of golf breeds. It breeds those type of people that can really travel and speak to anyone and play the great game, and talk about different diverse things about life.
How many Masters have those guys got between them? The Masters is coming up, right? So how many Masters between those guys?
It's incredible. Watson, Stadler, Lyle. I've got Norman, Els. Well, he didn't win the Masters, but you're looking at. I don't even know, to be honest. I mean, how many's Jack got alone?
Yeah,
5, 6 he's got. And
they're just rocking up at Dornoch, and you think it's normal?
Yeah, there's quite a funny story actually about that. And the golf course was great, and it was everything. And we're standing outside the pro shop, and because we knew he was coming, we were trying to keep it a little bit quiet because it's Jack Nicklaus, the most famous golfer on the planet, really, apart from Tiger. And our club champion was standing there, and I've got the golf gear on, and I'll get my bag ready to go. She said, "Oh, you're playing golf today?" I was like, yeah. And Andrew, our head pro, he was standing there, and he's got the exact same gear on as me, which is not normal. We wouldn't normally wear the same stuff. And he's like, "What are you doing? You playing golf, Andrew? You playing golf today?" He's like, yeah, because Andrew doesn't play that often. And just at that, a Range Rover pulled up, and Kevin still gets his back to us as Jack Nicklaus gets out the Range Rover.
Brilliant.
And so Kev's like, "Right, I'll see you later," because we never said boot a goose. He turned round, and Jack Nicklaus is literally nose to nose with him. and he just went, "Holy, it's Jack Nicklaus," and just walked away. He gets such a fright. It was like this moment, and you could see the fear in his face because it was Jack Nicklaus standing right there, and he's like, and Jack just went, "Nice to meet you." So,
he's like, "Cheers, pal. See you later."
He just gets such a fright. It was one of those, but yeah, it's special when you get to do stuff like that. You know, the boyhood dreams coming true stuff.
Absolutely. So that's Dornoch, and then I had a little look in your Instagram. I had to join Instagram. I actually had to join and try and figure out how to use it. There's all this stuff flying past me. It was hilarious. I'm like, how does this work? But when I was getting over that, I started to see some courses coming up that you've been lucky enough to play. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, we'll start in Scotland. What's your top 3 courses other than Dornoch, which has to be number 1, of course?
Yeah.
What's your top 3 courses in Scotland? We'll start with that.
So the top 3 would be Muirfield at number 1, Turnberry number 2, and Croonbrae number 3.
Nice, brilliant. And I've played only one of them, so
okay.
Muirfield I'd love to play, and Croonbrae I've heard a lot about. Fantastic courses. And then internationally, specifically, I'm going to hit you with America. So, what's your top 3 over there you've been to?
I've played. There would be kind of an equal first.
Of course.
Yeah, it'd be Pine Valley and Cypress Point.
Oh, shockers.
and I'll explain why equal first. Equal first because Pine Valley is unbelievably stunning and a proper track, a proper golf course. It asks you lots of different questions. You've got to shape the ball, you've got to feed the ball in, you've got to do lots of things. Cypress Point is just unbelievably stunning. From the moment you get there to the moment you walk off, it's just something to behold. Probably not as demanding as Pine Valley, but equally is incredible. So
I might embarrass myself here. Is that out beside Pebble Beach, Cypress Point?
Yeah, Cypress Point on 17-mile drive there in Pebble Beach. Yeah. So the way I would explain it to anyone is if you were going to play serious head-on golf, it'd be Pine Valley. So you're concentrating every shot. If you're going for your last ever 4-ball, Cypress Point.
Well, it sounds like we need to get to Cypress Point for a wee game. Before that, I'll swing past Dornoch for sure. And hopefully it won't be our last game. I prefer it not to be our last.
Hopefully not.
Brilliant. So, Gary, look, we've caught up on a lot of great things. We're virtually up to date now in terms of yourself. Looking ahead, is there any courses that remain your bucket list that you haven't got to?
Yeah, there's 2 in particular, both by the same person, designed by the same person, and that is everybody will know Augusta National. I've been there, been to the Masters twice, but never played it. Love to do that. I'd love to do it one day, but as we all know, that's probably not the easiest. And secondly would be Royal Melbourne. Royal Melbourne is,
I've heard a lot about that.
Love to play Royal Melbourne, and we're lucky enough here at Dornoch that we've got a reciprocal with them. So if I ever find myself in Australia, I can go play Royal Melbourne.
So if I get to Melbourne, I'm like, hey, I'm Gary Dingwall.
Your hair will need to get a bit greyer.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm getting there with that one.
So that's Gary. I would love to play.
So listen, it's been wonderful catching up and what's been an incredible journey for you. I've really enjoyed it, guys. It's been great seeing you again. And I'm sure the listeners will enjoy this as well. So just closing up here, I've got one final question for any of the listeners out there who are interested in getting into the golf industry and working as a golf professional or any other part. What advice would you have for them?
So get into the golf industry, there's lots of different avenues, and I think that's only going to get even more diverse as we start to go into the more technological era. My role, as we've talked about, has changed a lot, from being teaching a lot to now golf operations manager to recently I've just collected my club manager's diploma. So
congratulations.
Branching more of the management stuff. So there's lots of different avenues. Great points of call are obviously the PGA. PGA down in Birmingham. That's where they're based at the Belfry down there, so you can contact them. Or any of your local regions. So if you're based in the UK, you can contact your local region, Scottish region based at Gleneagles. Or I know that lots of universities now are doing golf management degrees. So you can base it alongside a business degree specifically aimed at the golf side of things. And for anybody who's a bit younger, maybe still at school looking where am I going to go next, get yourself into internships. Even up here at Royal Dornoch, every summer we are looking for anywhere between 5 to 10 interns that we can take in.
Wow, that's a lot.
In all different aspects of the, from pro shop to meet and greet team to the golf operation side of things. And what a way to spend a summer here,
absolutely.
In Dornoch, playing a bit of golf and seeing how the golf side of the business works.
It sounds a wee bit better than my apprenticeship at Colville Park. Working with the greenkeepers labour in the summer. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, it sounds a lot better at Dornoch. Brilliant, Gary. So lastly, is there any social media handles your own social media handles that you want to share?
Yeah, so really the only one that I kind of pay any attention to is Instagram, and that's mine's is at Royal Dornoch Pro, so dead easy. And the other one is the club's one, which is Royal.Dornoch, so at Royal.Dornoch, and I'm probably a little bit less frequent at posting pictures and stuff, and but the club, they're always posting pictures of the golf course. If anybody wants to have a look at it and see what it's like and maybe get a feel for it, those are probably two ones to have a wee look at and see the pictures and what we got up to.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thanks a lot, Gary, for being on the show. Let's work in that date for me to go up to Royal Dornoch.
Absolutely.
A game of one of those magical evenings.
Cheers, Russ.
Cheers.
Well, everyone, what a great story. I really enjoyed hearing from Gary. It was great to hear all those stories about his journey in life, where he's gone through golf, and just some of those spiritual experiences he talked about at Royal Dornoch Golf Club. What a fantastic place to be. In the next episode, I have got a great guest coming up. His name is Stephen Richardson. He's a course superintendent at Queenwood Golf Club, one of the most exclusive golf clubs in Europe, if not the world. Stephen's got a great story to tell, and I'm looking forward to letting you hear that one as well. In the meantime, if you've got any feedback for the show, please send it to linkedbygolf@yahoo.com. I'm also on Instagram, and that's linkedbygolf2024. I'll be posting there. You'll be able to find the show on Instagram. I'll be releasing some pictures of the show, which should be entertaining. Some of the recordings, I need to get permission from my guests for that one. But yeah, look, I want you to have a great time listening to the show, and your feedback is very important to me. So without going on any further, let's catch up next time. Goodbye.